Dismounting half a mile short of the rendezvous, Harry Taverner began to wheel his bicycle up the track that led into the hills above the village. The late autumn sky was bright and clear, and as the path steepened, the view offered itself to him. Ahead, the Corbière rose in folds of arid scrub, dotted with olive trees and rocky defiles. To his right was the sea, flecked with white foam. At his back, the snow-capped Pyrenees. An almost perfect world, he thought. Certainly too perfect to be at war. To ease the climb, and to calm his nerves, he sang the jaunty "Paris sera toujours Paris" that had been popular before the city fell. And because there was no one to hear him, he sang the lyrics softly, but in English, his own little act of defiance against an imagined chorus of marching jackboots. Paris will always be Paris. Despite the deep darkness, its brilliance cannot be darkened. Paris will always be Paris. His destination was a dilapidated capitale, a shepherd's shelter of dry stone with a missing roof. From there you could look down to the village, which lay in a narrow col between this hill and the one to the north, where a ruined castle stood. Harry had rejected the castle as a rendezvous, because it was favoured by courting couples, which he and Anna Cantrell had long ago assured each other they were most definitely not. Not in Paris, not in Berlin, not in Vienna, not now, not ever. The world could wait until it turned to dust and nobody bothered with love anymore, because Harry Taverner and Anna Cantrell had a war to win. Besides, the gendarmes in Narbonne were in the habit of raiding the place, searching for contraband wine the village hadn't already sent to Paris for German consumption. By the time Harry reached the crest, he was sweating heavily inside his coat. He propped the cycle against the crumbling stone walls of the capitale and glanced at his watch. He was half an hour early. Dipping into his pannier pack, he retrieved a canvas binocular case and an apple. Squatting down amongst the clumps of wild thyme, he set the apple between his feet. With his hands free, he removed the Air Ministry field glasses from their stowage, put them to his eyes, and adjusted the focus. Then he began to study the scene in the col below, to pass the time as much as for security, breaking off every now and then for a bite of the apple. Harry Taverner had taken the coastal road north from Perpignan in slow time, because a speeding cyclist drew attention anywhere. Once it wouldn't have mattered. Since the fall of France, 2.5 years before, the Germans had left the Zone Libre, the unoccupied sector run by the puppet government in Vichy, pretty much to its own devices. And while the gendarmerie was happy to do the Nazis' dirty work for them, Harry was confident his name was not to be found on any list in the Gestapo's headquarters on the Avenue Foch in Paris. But 3 days ago, everything had changed. An Allied army had landed in French North Africa. Now the Germans had responded by invading Vichy France. Since crossing the Spanish border, Harry had passed a steady stream of frightened people heading south. Whenever his gaze met theirs, he saw the same taut expressions, the same anxious eyes he'd seen in 1940 when France had fallen. Some travelled on foot, others in donkey carts, on horseback, or even in motor cars, though God alone knew where they'd found the petrol. He'd seen men in the suits they wore to Sunday Mass, feigning cheerfulness for the sake of nervous wives and children. He'd seen the elderly hiding their fear behind a brittle stoicism, while they wondered if they'd live long enough to see home again. It must be like this after an earthquake, he thought.